People want to be free. And what I like as a touring comic, what I've noticed when you're like, and it's mostly in my country because I've not been out traveling and stuff, but like what I've learned from people is people want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah.
They want to be left alone. Just leave people alone and let them live. Now that sort of tends towards the kind of your national political rubric, the kind of Republican right-wing small government stuff. But without like the argument between the communists and the anarchists is that without some sort of centralized state power, the people have no true representative against the might of corporate and financial interests. But of course, where we find ourselves now is that the state and the corporate world are essentially in alliance, so that people have no representation anyway.
Well, you don't need the state. I guess the unions is the equal and opposite reaction to corporate power.
I reckon you're right, Andrew. I reckon that there needs to be a confederacy of delegated power where the true democracy can operate. So this community, like where you have true confederacies and assemblies where people say, this is how our community want to run things. This is how, but there is a necessity for some municipal governance. There is a requirement for roads need to be run. There needs to be some understanding of military, of law and order. But my sense is that, and when they've tried these experiments, there's been some success, is that if you allow people to govern their own communities, they do it relatively successfully. And the thing that perhaps agitates me more than anything else about our current establishment and our current system is the assumption at its heart of misanthropy, that people are not good, that people are stupid.
What is misanthropy?
Misanthropy is a hatred of people.
Okay.
Like that, meaning that they don't like us. They think we're stupid. They think we're dumb. They think we can't run our own lives. That's what bugs me most of all.
Stopping it there. I actually wasn't going to stop it. I was just going to let it play, but I had to stop it because he said a couple of key things. That word, empathy, whatever, that word he just said, that was the definition of the hatred of people. A lot of people have that. A lot of people have internalized that. It's the whole like demoralization as well. That people are just bad, people are evil, people are corrupt, people left alone to their own devices are stupid and society would just fall apart. And I can understand why people might think that, but because we're taught that everyone is either a racist or a phobic of something or destroying the planet, that just by existing we are oppressive, then of course people are going to turn around and start to not like their own kind and almost hate human beings. But I also feel like a lot of this is very elitist as well. Even when we reacted to the Sam Harris video, or how a lot of these progressive elites sort of look down on the working class, sort of look down on the average mom and pop as uneducated, as they're too stupid to know what's the best thing for them, that they know what's best for them, that they're all idiots, right? They're not evolved enough, they're not progressive enough, right? It's the same thing when it came to the whole COVID lockdown of they couldn't just trust if they gave the citizens the information that they needed, the correct information that they needed to stay indoors when you don't need to be outside, to social distance, to wear a mask, to wash your hands, to just be careful around the elderly. Give us those guidelines and we would know how to manage our own lives. But instead of doing that, they treated us like children because they think we're stupid. They think you're dumb. And I just also want to hit on the whole union thing. I get why unions exist, and I'm not saying unions should be abolished, but unions can also be really corrupt. One of the reasons why it's so hard for us to give kids in the West or in America a school of choice is because of teachers' unions. They fight very hard back against allowing the parent to put their kid in a child that's best for the child instead of putting their kids into failing schools simply because of the location the child is living in. So unions can be just as corrupt as corporations or big business or the government, because unions lobby the government, and we all know when there's a lot of money in government and politics, it's usually corrupted. But I also agree that there is a need for some sort of government structure, like he said, to manage the roads and plumbing and electricity, I guess, but to also just make sure that we can hold on to the freedoms that is already given to us by God, not by the government. Anyway, and in saying that, welcome to Mika Reaction Reviews, where we react and review to things on the internet. And today I'm continuing my reaction to the podcast, this amazing podcast that Russel Brand had had with Andrew Schulz. And I think the podcast is FLAGRANT, and this entire podcast was amazing. I broke it up into 3 different reactions, but if you want to see the entire podcast, just ask me for the link and I would be happy to give it to you. Before we get back into the video, I just want to apologize for the stuffiness. I just moved to a different country and a location, different weather, different altitude, and I have just come down with the sinuses and the sniffles, but the show must go on. All right, let's continue with the video.
That with the whole censorship of the left thing, that people aren't able to watch something and go, oh, that's probably a joke, or that's not a joke, but I don't agree with it.
You're almost infantilizing people.
Infantilizing us, keeping us numb and dumb and consuming. So we're just a node at the end of the line. All you are is that you're just there to consume sugary food and sugary shit. No control over your own community. And what you described there, that model where people just live their lives according to their fucking will and their freedoms and spend time with their family, that's not ridiculous. That's what basically everybody wants, I think.
They want to keep us numb, dumb, and uncontrolled. Exactly. Just feed us junk that dumbs us down, that makes us not paying attention, feeding us crappy ass food, sugary foods that causes inflammation in your body, including your brain, so you can't even think fucking properly. They're basically trying to turn you into NPC robots where they can just feel the information and program you and wind your back up and push you in a direction they want you to be in. Let's continue.
How do you afford that?
How do you afford it?
Because the countries that are doing that are not in the best economic state, though they might be in the best emotional state.
Well, because you have to look at what the economic history of that situation is. And like there was after the 2008 crash where the Democrat Party bailed out the banks in a way that was a fundamental betrayal of the entire ethos that they purported to have. And in my opinion, laid the pathway for Trump's ascendancy. What happened in Europe at that time is there's the rising of populist British party, or not British, excuse me, European parties. There was Syriza in Greece, like this dude called Yanis Varoufakis and his partner. They were elected on a popular mandate of basically, we ain't fucking paying them banks back. They can all fuck off. Right? And they got to, the people elected them. They went to the EU. The EU went, you're fucking giving us that money. It's over. And that Yanis Varoufakis, who ran it, you should have him on one time. Like when he came on, he said that when he went to the EU, he said he realized no one in the establishment has any real power except for the power afforded to them by their role, i.e. the president of the United States or the head of the EU. If he just goes, free money, or if he goes like, you know, there's a spring break, you know, like you can't do that shit. You can only do what is prescribed. That means the system will always preserve itself. If you ever try to act against the interests of the system, you would be removed from your position.
That's the whole point of, I'm not saying this to say that, but yeah, that it has to be that way. That's the point of a government. I can't allow a person to usurp the government. That's a coup.
Yes.
It's inherently not going to happen.
System is self-preserving above all else. So when you grant systems more power, it exacerbates and continues. This is why something like the pandemic was interesting, because it inherently granted more power to the government that will unlikely be rescinded. State power increased, corporate opportunity increased, the wealth transfer took place. Any situation that's beneficial to the most powerful interests in the world is, you know, by definition advantageous. And it's, I don't know, would that mean that they would prolong it? Would they see it as an opportunity? Do the government and financial interests act in accordance with the will of ordinary people? These are all questions for people to consider.
That was it, guys. That was that part of the Russel brand podcast with the FLAGRANT podcast. Absolutely amazing. Again, if you want to see the entire one, the entire podcast, I think is a bit over an hour long. Just ask me for the link and I'll be happy to give it to you. The government's first priority is to preserve itself. It's self-preservation, right? And if you see it in another way, it's almost like the government in itself has a conflict of interest. Because if their interest is to keep power and to stay in power as long as they possibly can, then all of their decisions is going to be backed by that. All of their decisions are going to be steered by that mindset, right? I just need to keep power. I just need to preserve what I have in this place in politics and in government, right? I also agree with what he said about like you don't like the president is. In a lot of ways, the president is the face of the government. Almost like when someone sponsors something, like they're not really like when a celebrity makes a clothing line, they're not really making the clothing line. Their name is just on it. They're the face of it, right? But technically, the president has to go through all these other hoops to get anything done, which is one of the reasons why our ex-president didn't get as much as he could done. For one, he surrounded himself with shitty people, and 2, they were so against him that he couldn't get stuff done, because you have to go through the Senate, you have to go through the Congress, you have to go to the Supreme Court. Things can get vetoed down, right? And so, like, honestly, yeah, your power is just as much as that it's afforded to you. So who is really running the government, you might ask? Because if the president has power, but he's not the most powerful, who is, right? Anyway, I totally love that segment, freedom. I think that, especially in America, is built into our DNA, makes us a bit arrogant sometimes, makes us very boisterous about what we want and why we want it. But I'm so glad and proud to have been born in America so that freedom DNA can be injected into my body so I can have it and carry it along with me no matter what fucking country I'm in. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think of this segment, what they said, what I said in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below, and also in the comment section. Of course it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below, and links to all of my alternative platforms, my Odyssey, my Rumble, my Minds.com. Follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to follow me on Discord. All the links down below, and if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle, or I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and you'll follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And I also have all of my other YouTube channels, links down below, and you guys have an amazing day. Bye.